What's up, everybody? Happy Friday. You're listening to the Entrepreneurial Web. I'm your host, Jeremiah Fox. We got a ringer for you today before we get started. The message of the week. This comes from Fred Wilcox, the famous classic film director. And he said, progress always involves risk. You can't steal second base and still keep your foot on first. With that, I would like to introduce my guest today. He is the founder of Full Circle Investment Group out of Hampton Roads, Virginia. His company also runs wholesalingoutofthebox.com. I would like to welcome to the show Shawn Bowen. Get ready for this one, everybody. What's up, Shawn?
Boa!
Oh, caralho! I had no idea.
Hiccup. He'll do the butt wrestling game. He's no good.
The touch butt in the park.
The touch butt guy. He do the hustle.
Oh my God! If I'd have known, man, I would have worn on my Hasparch. But so my brother and I, Jacob Fox, who used to train with Shawn in Virginia, he and I started a little. He was on the show last month, and we started a little Instagram live, kind of revolving around martial arts. And he always wears his Salo Ribeiro gi, and Shawn.
That guy.
That guy's. He was pick up the torch and carry the hod through the wilderness. It's amazing. So is this at your place? Where are you at?
Yeah.
A little shrine there.
Yeah. So when the whole COVID thing broke out, right? You can't go. So I turned my garage into like a gym, and I got the mats down, and obviously put lineage up and the flag, and I'm really big into the whole respect part of martial arts. So
absolutely,
the lineage that comes with it, the respect that comes with it, all that kind of stuff is like really important to me. So we had some guys probably 2 months outside of that come and start training because they couldn't go anywhere and train. Yeah. So it was like old school, right? Back to the roots in the garage. It was really fun. So I set the whole thing up, and I put that thing together, and I did the lineage on it. And then of course in here my wife does CrossFit. She's a CrossFit instructor for CrossFit headquarters. So nice. She's got her own little setup over there with everything that she needs. And then she's also been virtual with doing some of her job stuff. So yeah, man, it's been cool. I've enjoyed it. It's been a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun building it and training in here, and having the guys there. So yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, we've done the same. We broke up in a few little pods, and I've got one in the basement of my building. The landlord said, use it freely. And nice. We put some mats down, and like my youngest daughter is always down there with me because our older two are in virtual school, and my wife's a teacher. So she's teaching virtually, and they're all like, you got to get her out of here. So my 2-year-old is down there, and it's like me and 3 other dudes throwing each other around, and she just like hops on the mat, and she'll do the warm up with us and everything. And I just keep telling the guys, like, this has to have been what it was like early on. And Jorge and Gracie was like setting up in his garage, and the kids were there just romping around, and he would just like, he was a dishwasher and just like bringing guys through. I'm like, this is some throwback stuff. And the great part about it is you see who's like really, really dedicated, like when things were easy and the school was set up and all you had to do was show up and like throw your gi on, there were a lot of people that were dedicated and would come all the time. But then like this pressure hit, and a lot of people were like, man, I don't know what to do. And it was just like, we just work it out, man. We just work it out. And I love, I've been just saying to you yesterday, I love to always tie in the martial arts values into business because it applies so much. And like, how does that not apply to business and what's happened over the last? So we got the whole hour to unpack this. You caught me off guard with the gi though, man. That's so great. That's so fantastic. I really love it. So give everybody a little. We'll talk about jiu-jitsu again shortly. Give them the business background and your real estate investment experience.
Yeah, so I started back in 2010. It was kind of an accidental thing, and I had a contracting business, and ended up went to like a local real estate group and was trying to draw up some more business. And met a lady there that was actually the president at the time, and she's still a member today. Her name's Patty Robertson, and she kind of took me under her wing, and she was like, hey, if you want to learn this business, I'll teach it to you. You discount your product. And I was just kind of like, I don't have any money. Like, I don't have that kind of money. I can't do that kind of stuff. And she it really like took me under her wing, and I discounted my work and really started to like stick beside her and learn a lot. And in the first year, she taught me about this thing called wholesaling, which was she basically got a house under contract and then sold that piece of paper to somebody for like 5 or 10 grand. And I was like, no way, that's hokey pokey. That's not real. That sounds like total BS, because I'd never heard of it. And sure enough, that was the start of it. And then I started doing that. So I started to learn how to market and find deals, and then started rehabbing homes on my own, and then went off on my own. And I've been doing it ever since. So we hold a portfolio of rentals, and we do some fix and flips, and then we wholesale paper.
So coming from the contracting background helped with that whole situation.
It did. Actually, the only thing it really helped me with was understanding that that's not where I wanted to be anymore. Like, it was cool to understand the work and understand the ins and outs of it. The differences between being the investor side versus the actual doing the work guy, the contractor, is just night and day difference. The talk is different. The expectations are different. The attitudes are different. Just everything is different, right? Yeah. So it was a lot of retraining myself of how to talk to people and do business with people that were in the business world instead of the contracting world. So yeah, it was a huge shift. At the time when I found jiu-jitsu, so back in 2011 is when I started. And that just kind of like you said, business and martial arts, it was actually a really good find. It changed me as a person. It made me a better person. You know, you can't go out and get all banged up and then try to go train the next day. So that didn't work. So that was kind of cool. But the aspect of just being real with yourself, being real with other people, it transcends like right into business, and it just made me a better business person overall. And it's also a really good disconnect, you know, shutting it down from work and then getting in to go train, and 2 hours of training to shut your brain off. It's been awesome.
Yeah, 100%. I always tell people, so I own a restaurant, and I'm involved in a few other businesses in Brooklyn. I'm sitting in my restaurant right now. If I I started training right before we opened the restaurant. We had just opened 3 other places, and this one was like getting ready to open when I started training. And if I hadn't started, I swear I would have burned them all to the ground. And it was like fantastic to like be able to break away. Like the dojo was, it used to be just a few doors down from the restaurant. So I just always had a clean gi packed in a bag, ready to go. As soon as it was a free hour, I was like, let me go. Even if things were good, I was like, let me just go, because something's going to happen. And I've got a lot of friends who are contractors, and a number who have gone from contracting into something similar to what you're doing. And they thought it was a good move. And it's the same, like the restaurant industry, it's all about self-realization. You put yourself in these situations, and I think jiu-jitsu helps a lot with that, where like you can't lie on the mat, right? You can talk a bunch of smack. You can be like, oh, I'm going to fuck you up, man. And when it comes down to it, you'd be like, man, I didn't do it. And everybody knows. And it's like, it helps you like really confront yourself and be honest with your abilities and what you really want out of things. And I started to realize the same thing. Like, yeah, I don't want to cook forever. I don't want to bartend forever. This is okay for now. It's cool. I like owning a restaurant. It's fun. But yeah, to think about like, what are the other, but it's really great, because what I've discovered is I don't have to let it go, but there's so many other really fantastic possibilities similar to kind of what you got into. I'm curious more about I'm very familiar with the like fix and flip, but can you elaborate a little bit more, especially for people that are listening that aren't familiar with like the selling of the piece of paper you've alluded to a couple times?
Yeah, so without deep diving too far.
Not too far.
In the state of Virginia, and this is pretty much across the United States that I'm aware of, with other people that do the same business. When you contract up on a piece of paper, you don't have to be a real estate agent. It's just like all of us when we buy and sell real estate. If you are selling, and I come to you and I say I want to buy your home, I give you documentation. It says I'm buying it, and now I have what's called equitable interest. So I can sell that interest, right? I can sell that piece of paper to somebody and make money, which in return, they step in my position. So you have 2 forms. You have a purchase and sale agreement, and you have an assignment of contract. So we go out, we find these properties with the intentions of taking them down to either rehab them, hold them, do all the other stuff creative wise, or we can sell that paper off. And when we do that, it's called an assignment of contract, and we sell it for a spread. So if we have it for $100,000 and we sell it to another investor for 110, then they step into our position. They come in and step into the entire position. They fund it, they pay it, and then on the closing documentation, we get paid our fee. Mm-hmm. So in essence, we're selling the paper, which in this case sounds like $10,000. We are, but I think a lot of people don't understand when they hear that big number, if it's a big number to them, everything that's involved on the back end of that, right? There's operations, there's marketing costs, there's taxes, there's fees. So like we gross $10,000, we're not netting $10,000. Right. So
right.
Yeah, it's a very lucrative transactional business that you can make a really good living off of. But the foundation of it for us was just to get deals in the pipeline. So we got really good at marketing, and we were like, well, if we can source our own deals and make it a vertical transaction, we mm-hmm. can source the deal, we can sell it. We can source the deal and rehab it, source it and hold on to it, source it and owner finance it. We got a lot of creative things that we do mm-hmm. inside of that one platform, which is, I call it the foundation. Everybody needs to find the deal. And if the guy that finds the deal is the guy that controls it, as long as you get it under the right number.
And are these typically individual, like private homes, or are they sometimes like larger complexes?
So it can go both ways. You can get into, we've done multifamily, we've done single family, we've done commercial buildings, we've done land. It can be done with anything. Mm-hmm. The biggest piece of this is knowing your numbers, right?
Yeah.
So if I contract up at $100,000, knowing that the other person is going to be able to buy it from me for 110, and then put their money into it and do whatever they want, either buy and hold, fix and flip, develop, whatever it is. That's the most important part, is understanding those numbers. But yeah, it can be done with anything. It's literally the oldest thing since time, right? Getting something under contract for a lower price and selling it for a higher price.
Right.
The oldest game ever.
I mean, that's the essence of transaction.
Yeah.
Really. I mean, is just like, if you're retailing, like whatever you're doing, you're always flipping it for some sort of profit, because otherwise what would be the point? Yeah. Otherwise you could just grow your own food and kill your own food, and you wouldn't need all this business.
Yeah, to your world and the restaurant world, right? Like you buy I'm just going to use liquor for example. You buy a bottle of liquor, you sell it for X amount of dollars per drink. There's a crazy amount of markup, right? Same thing with food. You buy it, you have the prep time, and then you sell it. So like it's the same thing. It's just in a transactional piece that it's not really talked about. It's not really known about. It's getting more prominent now because there's guys out there that are promoting it a lot more. But when I got back in 2010, it was just, I didn't know about it. Like, how am I going to take this piece of paper and sell it for $5,000 to $8,000 to $10,000? And I was just like, bullshit. That's not happening. There's no way, because we're all brought up in a work so much, so many hours, make so much money. And that's how I was brought up, right? In a very blue collar way. So yeah, changing your mindset there was crazy, because they're like, what are you worth an hour? Whatever I negotiate.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what it works out to. So.
Sweet. We're going to take a quick break. All right. Hang tight.
Cool.
The rest of you hang tight. We'll be back in just a few. All right, everybody. Welcome back. If you're just tuning in, we are speaking today with Shawn Bowen. He is the founder of Full Circle Investment Group, which also operates wholesaling out of the box. He's based out of Hampton Roads, Virginia. He's also an avid jiu-jitsu practitioner. We have a little history together with that via my brother. He's rocking the gi today, the shallow pibero here. The gi. He's wearing the gi.
You put the gi, you cannot lie.
So these guys came into the restaurant last night. They must have been, they appeared to be Portuguese, not Brazilian, but I could hear the accent. And like my chefs are from West Africa, and they also speak some Portuguese, and we throw around some slang, here in the restaurant. Like that, all I know is like Brazilian slang. I don't know any words. Obrigado. Yeah. That's it. That's the only like proper word I know. We had to censor ourselves, because I was like, yo, these dudes are gonna light us up. Like I realized they were speaking Portuguese, and I was like, I was like, yo, chill. Because we'll yell across the restaurant. I'll just be like, whoa. And like, that's how we communicate with each other.
That's awesome.
It's really funny. And I was like, oh, not today, guys. Let's settle it down just for a couple hours. But, so you were talking about like flipping paper a minute ago. I'm curious, how does your particular approach to real estate differ from like a real estate investment trust or like a real estate investment group where there are like management companies that you're investing in, or does it fall in under one of those categories?
I would say we are a turnkey company, right? So my idea when I started this was just, hey, I'll be able to find my own deals, and then I'll be able to do those deals, and I made a bigger profit spread. So then I started building on top of it. I said, well, I can have a construction aspect to it. I can have a management aspect to it. And then I can have almost like a banking aspect to it.
Right.
So if you look at that from a vertical, I would say we're smaller in the company size, right? But like we're trying to do the big company mentality. So we source the deals, we can fix the deals, but we can also do it with guys that want to invest, right? So for example, we have guys that come to us all the time. You know, hey, I've got 100,000, and you get to get lower guys. I got 20, 30, 40 grand I want to put to work. How do I do that? Where can I do it? So we don't do very strict guidelines, you know, play by the rules. So making sure that each deal is done under its own LLC. It's either a buy and hold where it has like a 3-year term on it, 30-year amortization with a fixed interest rate, or they can come in for like a fix and flip, take a first deed position, second deed position based on cost and loans, set interest rate, and then out the door in 6 months, right? So we offer a few different ways of doing it. And there's always building capital. Guys are always, especially right now, the market was so volatile this year, especially with COVID, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not really big into politics. I don't really speak too much on it, but I know that we're in the year of an election, so you have a lot of guys, you know, with capital trying to figure out what they want to do. So fortunately, we've been able to build a pretty good substantial group with guys like that. Hey, I want to get a return on my investment. I want it to be safe. I want to know who you are. I want to know you as a company, you know, and what it looks like. So yeah, we do it from base level to selling the paper to helping guys making a return on their investments, as well as us making a return on our investment, where we put our money where our mouth is.
Yeah.
For sure.
Are people typically just flipping those properties, or are they using them as rentals, as like long-term ownership?
Yeah. So a lot of the guys that we're working with are looking to put that capital to work long-term, right? So an example would be we'll go 6-7% APR, and we'll back it up with a first deed of trust and let that sit and play. The way we write it is a 30-year amortization with a 3-year call. So that way that they can see that they're committed for the first 3 years, but if they want to get out in 3 years, they're good, or maybe they can stay on. It's up to them. It allows them to get that movability and not feel trapped. Right. We do say that you got to commit at least 3 years with us. But outside of that, like, we're good. If that doesn't, if you want to go, you roll out, that's fine. Let's do it. But there's different levels of investment. I'm sure you're realizing that, but most guys are like, Shawn, I don't want to be in for 3 years. Let's do a dating scene first. Let's go hang out for like a year or 6 months, do a fix and flip. Let me get comfortable with you first.
Right.
And let's try that and see what happens. Right. So yeah, we've got a few different platforms we offer: the fix and flip, the buy and holds, and then transactional. We've got guys that just want to close a deal, make a quick buck or two, and then be done.
So you kind of got like the appetizer, like you said, the dating kind of thing. It's just like, let's see if we jive. And so you can just do that real quick, but then all the way up to like 30-year investments.
Well, 30-year meaning the way we write it as an amortization on a mortgage.
I know what you mean.
So to make guys comfortable and then solid up on the DOT. But I'll give a real example. We had a guy come to me about 2 weeks ago. It was like, Shawn, I've got like 30 grand I want to put to work. I was like, okay, cool. What kind of return you want on it? And he's like, I don't know. If I can get between 5 and 7, I'm good. I'm at like 1 and 2 in the market. I was like, okay, cool. I'll tell you what, I got a little deal going down. It's going to take about 4 or 5 days, because of what we're doing was like transactional funding. We take it down, we close on it, we own it for a few days, and we turn right back around and sell it to somebody else. And he was like, okay, cool, I'll be part of that. And he was like, how much? And I was like, I'll pay you $1,000 to use your money for like 4 days. He's like, bullshit. And I was like, okay, I'll show you. So he did it, and he, everything worked out like it normally does. And he came back and he was like, how can we do more of those? And I was like, here's how we do it,
Yeah.
So it works on both accounts to, maybe I'm not comfortable with working that guy or lady or whoever that person is. Like when the money goes hard, we talk about this ahead of time. When money goes real, that's when either people are comfortable or they're not, right? They're either on the phone every day asking questions or they're not. So those expectations out of the way. Say, hey guys, every week we're going to give you an update of the project, or every 2 weeks, or leave the expectations out there so that they know what's happening, so that we can get comfortable about what's going to happen during the transaction. Instead of the money goes hard, $100,000, and week one, day one, it's all like, what's up? And you're like, whoa, bro.
Yeah.
Pump the brakes. Here's how we do this. And that's helped a lot since I changed that about 5 years ago, to set the level of expectation, what's to happen, what's not to happen, how much do you want to be involved, do you not want to be involved, that kind of stuff.
Right. So they have options of how engaged they want to be with the properties. Do you all manage all the properties that way, or do they get involved in that as well, where they're like can they be like the face of the property, or they're just they're back? She said, nah.
Yeah, it's sitting in the background, money guys. If they want to be involved in the transaction part of it, that would have to be a fix and flip, right? That's about the only time they can really get involved, which they can, and I'd allow them. Meaning like, hey, here's how we operate. If you want to be involved in this, you're more than welcome to, but we don't change selections. We don't change scope of work. Like, we don't do these changes because we have an operation that works. We have a system that's very organized and it's very operational to the fact of like A, B, and C. I don't want you to come in with these HGTV ideas and be like, I want to do that. Like, no. We can't do that, man. So yeah, I think we just put that out front, if you just want to get a return, great. This is probably the window you want to work in. If you want to be involved and you want to feel like the HGTV moment, here's how you can get close to that, but not going to let you get too close to get burned or screw up the operation that we're doing.
Right. Especially if they don't have the history. So you have to protect both ends. You have to protect their interests by laying the roadmap out, constant communication, which is super important in every industry, right? Like if but if I've got like people waiting on food and I don't say, hey, this is what we learned that so early on in the restaurant industry, like things are a little behind. Like if you just go say something, just something.
All good.
Hey guys, we know you're here. Just, that's all you got to do, And then they're like, oh, okay. But if you don't, and they're sitting there stewing and you say nothing, boy, people can really talk themselves to the edge of the cliff, can't they?
Oh yeah. Everybody's mind starts wandering in places that you can't control. And it's just like any type of relationship. I don't care if it's business, personal, it doesn't matter what it is. Communication is the most important part. If you can't have an open line of communication, people will go to their own ideas. So there should be managed ahead of time. How am I going to work with you? How are you going to work with me? How are we going to make this a very easy transaction and not, well, why don't I know this or why don't I know that? And I haven't gotten that down pat in like 1 or 2 times. That was over years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So when the guys do come to me, Shawn, I want to do this, I want to do that, we're probably just not a good fit. Like I know that because I've tried it. I've screwed up. I've tried to let it change and step into my world. And it's like, no, I have a really good organization. I have a really good structure going on here. We can show you returns. We can show you timelines. We can give you KPIs. Like, we're very analytical. So let us do what we're good at and let us help you, give you the opportunity to invest in that, knowing that it's a very safe return versus in a volatile situation you can't control. I can pretty up a house. I can't pretty up a stock.
Yeah. And that right there is the quote of the week. I can pretty up a house. I can't pretty up a stock.
Exactly.
Boy, if you learn both.
Yeah. You're dangerous.
Yeah, exactly.
You're dangerous.
Wow. That's great. That's really awesome. Cool. All right. We're gonna head to another break here. We'll be back in just a few, everybody. Hang tight. We'll check in just a minute. You're listening to the Entrepreneurial Web. Yes, boy.
Corralo. Back at the game.
Corralo. You got it. You for sure seen Uncle Hanach.
That guy, he trained with us many a time, and he wraps me up with the chest care and mother milk. It's a brutal one. He's very heavy.
Man.
He's not so good lately though. I challenge him. Come. Yeah,
right.
You're here to my place. Let's go.
Me too. I gave him a call out also. I'm curious because I've had a number of real estate people locally here in New York, which is talk about a volatile market in 2020. What's the scene like in? You're in like all of Hampton Roads? You work like the whole southeast corner. Cool.
Yeah, so we follow. We do marketing and we do deals from Williamsburg down to Isle of Wight County, which is right there at the North Carolina line.
Yeah.
And we've actually spread our wings up into like Fredericksburg, kind of around that area.
Mm-hmm.
Started to get up there. We have one of our acquisitions guys that works up and travels back and forth to go see his family. So we've actually done a few deals up there.
Cool. That's hot real estate up there.
Yeah. Coming off of that DC traffic.
Yeah. So what's the situation like there? I mean, here, like Midtown Manhattan has like emptied out essentially. And depending on who I speak to in Brooklyn and what company they're with, they're like, the market's never been hotter in Brooklyn because all those people left Manhattan that kind of used to frown upon Brooklyn. Now, all of a sudden, it looks like the best place on earth to live. And then there's a couple others who are like, I don't know, it's kind of crazy. I'm not sure what's going to happen. But in general, the consensus on the street is that like residential Brooklyn is hot fire, where like 12-foot wide, wood frame row homes are going for over $1 million, especially if they have a backyard. People are like upbidding on them. What's it been like there this year in terms of just the real estate market, the housing market in general?
Yeah, really good. We're kind of insulated, so we don't follow the same pattern as a lot of other places. Military really insulate us, being that 3-4 year turn. So, I mean, we don't really have guys go too far, too fast. And I would say retail numbers, if you stay under the 275, right at under 285 and the 170 mark, you've got your enlisted, and then you've got a few higher ranks that can get qualified for that number. So that's our sweet spot, right? Townhomes is not over 180. Single family, 1-story ranchers, probably 250. And then you start getting up near the 2-story, 2,100, 4-bedroom, 2-bath. That's closer to the 300 mark. So we're pretty solid, but we don't feel the really hard bang where it goes really north. It's just kind of a steady little rise and it stays. But no inventory. Anything that hits the market's gone in hours. It's just whether it's on the market to be sold as a fix and flip, or whether it's on the market to be bought as a finished out product.
Mm-hmm.
In the back end, like in the back market, the back channels, I guess is the best way to say it. That's been stupid. You got guys paying, 10, 15,000 over asking price, kind of like the way it is in the on market stuff, but they go fast, like this year, I think we've 37% on our margin jump because guys are like, I need a deal. And they know that once it goes out, that it's gone, right? So there's not a chance of whether it's not going to sell or not.
Right.
It's just who the highest bidder is. But we don't play that highest and best game. I've kept that pretty solid with our team. It's like, hey, you put the offer in, you give us no contingencies, you make it as clean as you can, you got the deal, right?
Right. It's almost like gambling at that point, right?
Yeah, we don't want the, I don't want the bidding war. I like to have a relationship with our guys that we work with that are buying from us. Like, it's a solid deal. They know it's done. We know it's done. It's a good transaction. We keep moving forward. There's a lot of guys that don't do that, and they're like, I got to squeeze every penny out of it. And I think that's a bad model, because when it comes back to when the market does go off, it's going to go back when kind of like 2008, 2009, 2010, when I got in,
Right.
And I didn't realize it because I didn't know any better, but the things that are being bought for 80,000 to 100,000 today were the same homes that were being bought for 40 and 80 back in the day when I got in. So I think we're looking at the next huge generational wealth shift of the guys that are, I mean, there's so much cash sitting out there. It's dumb money. It's doing dumb things. But sometimes that's good, sometimes it's bad. But I know the guys that we're working with, you know, they're getting good returns, and I'm looking forward to stacking up, and, you know, hopefully this next shift, I can be part of that generational wealth. And,
sure. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good opportunity for a number of different people. They're like the ones you were previously talking about. Like some people, less than spectacular people will cash in on this for sure, but smart people too. That it seems to me like what you're talking about, especially in the terms of building relationships. That's more of like, I want this company to be around to weather like whatever shit comes down the pipe, because clearly. We're more is going to come down. If it shows up more like pandemic style, whatever, like the future is going to be different. You know, it's not going to operate the same way it did. Just like what happened post 2008, like it never kind of went back to the way it was prior to that. I think it's going to continue. But the people that build relationships are the people that are showing that, like, I want to be around when the dust settles, and I think that's huge. I mean, I had to prove that in a number of ways with our businesses as well. It's like, you have to take care of people in a way, to a certain extent throughout all this, especially right now.
The guys that I learned from, and I still learn from today, and I tell this to anybody watching this or hearing this replay, man, look to the older guys. And those are the guys you listen to. They're not everything is a scam, and not everything is only about money. I mean, the guys I learned from are the ones that taught me, this is a relationship business, Shawn. This is a long-term play. And if you're worried about the dollar today to not have a relationship tomorrow, you won't be in this business. Mm-hmm. And I really took that to heart after a few months / the following year, because I had guys come to me, my name goes through the community. Shawn can be an asshole, but at least he said when he said he's going to do something, he'll do it. You might not like it, but he does what he said he's going to do. And I think it's more important to have that as a company name and know and let it run through than it is to worry about the almighty dollar. Like, the relationships are more important, way more important.
I've gotten the same advice. As someone came on the show, it was a real estate agent in New Jersey, said that back in, it must have been April. Like, if you're worried about the transaction right now, man, the prognosis is not good. Like, it's gotta be about relationship building. And then that will one day turn into dollars, but you can't think that way. And you can't treat people that way and expect like a long-term ROI on that, on that whole thing. So you also, like, in terms of relationship building as well, you're hosting a show yourself, right? You're doing a live. You want to tell everybody about that a little bit and how that's helped that process?
Yeah, man.
I like how he smiles. Tell me, do you wear the gi in that?
Nah.
You might want to consider it.
I like the idea, actually. I did this the gi thing with you guys because I saw with Jacob, and we have a few guys that trained with us back in the day at Hybrid when Jacob was there, and he was so tight with his accent in the Portuguese way. You had guys coming to the gym, they were like, thought he was Portuguese, and it was so funny. He told me. Where we were like white belts back then, and there's guys that are still training together today, and we'll crack the jokes the same way. And then there was another trainer that talked like that. So no, that whole thing was because of you guys. And I was dying laughing. I was like, oh my God, this is awesome. I can't wait to do it. So nice. That was the reason I did that. Yeah. So the show that we have is Wholesaling Out of the Box, and wholesalingoutofthebox.com. A lot of that premised off of YouTube channels and podcasts that we've developed. Ashley is the young lady that helps me do all this, and she's been a huge help, and just helped us get through all this and build this kind of, I don't know, social media stuff that I'm not really good at. I don't mind talking. I'm just not good with the whole social media stuff. So she's the one that helped build that. So yeah, if people are trying to check us out, it's Wholesaling Out of the Box in podcast and YouTube channels. We speak to everything that goes with wholesaling. I do time in my wholesale. I do those on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So we get in there for about 10 or 15 minutes and just go live talking about something specific. And we had laid that out. So we'll stop that show at the end of this year, and then we'll develop another one. But it was just a lot of quick little content for guys that didn't want to pay to go somewhere and learn it. Or the main premise behind it was, back when I started, before I got to meet all these guys, it was like, there wasn't this kind of attention or this kind of free giving information. Everybody's like, pay me $2,000, pay me $5,000, I'll give you the world. And you're like, dude, I don't have it, you know? So I thought about that, and I was like, this is only like 15 minutes of my time. You know, I know that there's somebody out there like me back in the day that's going to use this. And then there's some other guys that do it. And I was just like, this is awesome. Why not be part of it? And it kind of goes back to the roots of just helping people, you know, like just being a good person. And that's kind of the other part about, I feel like, that's transcended from jiu-jitsu, whether you're teaching somebody else something new in jiu-jitsu to teaching somebody else something new in business that you're good at. One of the mentors I had said, Shawn, you can't take this shit with you. Why are you not going to take some time to help somebody with it, right? You're never too important, and you're never, ever you're never over somebody that you can't help that, right?
Yeah.
So always think about it like you always have the chance to bring somebody up and help them, and never put down on them, because nobody's ever done that to you. And if they have, they're probably not around in your life anymore. So that was the reason we created those channels. It allows us to help other people. We get our information to people. They actually come and work with us. It does work. They do come and do work with us. That's cool. But I mean, I've had people hit me up randomly that I had no idea watched the show. You know, like, hey man, you know, that one episode you did, like, that was crazy. You can't believe it. Was awesome. I did this, that, and the other, and it worked. You know, it's just like that kind of stuff. So it's really cool to see that and hear people's results off of something that you've done. It's kind of weird, right? You don't really, unless you're looking at the analytics behind it, you don't really look and see like who's watching it. You're just doing it. Yeah. And then you get somebody to call or write you or message you on one of your platforms, and it's just like, what? That's so cool. So that's how we started it, and that's where we're at doing it. So
yeah, I've experienced the same many times here, and you're right. It's just like, it's the idea of offering some value, something to give them a reason. Because there's so much noise, right? I said it to you yesterday, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. And it's just like, you really have to make some noise in a way that people are like, okay, I'll give this guy a few minutes of my time. And you're not even asking for money, which is huge. And if it in some way makes their life better, they will never forget that. Maybe you'll get the call for like the big thing, maybe not, but like your chances just went way up, you know, just became exponentially higher versus that guy that says, give me $2,000. Just give me $2,000, kid, and I'll make all your dreams come true.
Yeah, it's so crazy, that mentality or that sales type or just how that person is or was. Just doesn't work for me, you know, and I've learned more, experienced more, and actually met more people. I didn't even realize it was a thing. It just started happening. I was like, oh my God, we need to keep going with this, because this is awesome. Yeah. People are getting good information. They're using it. Not only that, but they're actually coming to us and bringing us deals like, holy shit, let's just keep going. Like, this is awesome. So
absolutely. That's great. That's like, it definitely should be the cornerstone. They need to teach that shit in business school. I don't know if they do. Are you familiar with, do you know Tony DiSilvestro and Why Not Italian in Hampton Roads? He's all over. No. I worked for him when I lived there many years ago. And, and he's hosting a show. I think he's hosting a show on FM 99 now. But he talks about,
what's his name?
Tony DiSilvestro. And he's like the head of all the Why Not Italian, Why Not pizzas throughout Hampton Roads. And they've been up into Jersey, and now they're going up into like Fredericksburg in that area. They're franchising. You should check him out and listen, because he talks about that all the time. I mean, that's his bread and butter. And he's been in business for almost 30 years down there. Cool. So he's a Jersey guy. He's from up here, but he moved down there in like the early 90s. I started working for him in 93, 92 that's or awesome. 93. And up until I left. And yeah, just invaluable lessons along this line. All right, we're going to take one more quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about jiu-jitsu. Hang tight, everybody.
Hey!
Corallo. Oh. All right, everybody. We're back. Last portion of the show. This one was too much fun. that once was too much fun. So we're talking again with Shawn Bowen. He's the founder of Full Circle Investment Group out of Hampton Roads, Virginia. Also operates wholesalingoutofthebox.com, which offers free advice on investment in real estate, fix and flip, all things you need to know, short little bits, emphasis on helping people. And you tied it in nicely. And it always happens in the third portion of the show. It's so amazing. Like, without me doing anything, it's just like this Zen-like thing where in the third portion of the show, the guest, unprompted, always kind of brings it together. And you tied in learning jujitsu and how like it's this tradition, it's just passed on. You mentioned the older guys in the industry, like those are the guys to look to. Same with jujitsu. You're like, this is coming down like centuries and centuries, but like particularly really honing in on coming from, you know, the original families in Brazil and you know, their students being passed, you know, passing down this information. And it's strictly to help you, to make your life better, to help you hopefully get out of a sticky situation. But like, if hopefully you never have to use it, but regardless, like just the regular training makes your life better. I love hearing Joe Rogan constantly say, like, you just do it because it makes you better. And if you want to get better at anything in your life, like you need this daily kind of activity and problem solving. Especially like my fantasy is to start like an entrepreneurship program that has daily jujitsu, just to sharpen the saw, just to be like, guys, you need this because the problems are going to come. If you're a small business owner or a large business owner or an entrepreneur or whatever, like this shit is going to hit the fan and you're going to be better prepared to do it if you're practicing problem solving on a daily basis. And no way to better do that than to have some big ass dude on top of you. We're gonna start in the bottom every time. You're gonna be in the bottom position every time, and you will have to work out of that once.
I'm gonna fat boy you, and you got to go. That's the line. I get those guys at the gym with that all the time. You get a guy that's brand new, he doesn't know any framing, he doesn't know any bridging, he doesn't know anything. You know what I mean? Yeah. But yet he's watched a video on like, I can do worm guard. You're like, motherfucker, you're going to get jacked.
You're going to get smashed. Yes. Yeah. I don't even know what worm guard is. I'm glad I don't.
Oh my God. It's horrible. Yeah. You see the guys nowadays that are with the gym stuff, you know, they're very fancy and it's all this stuff that's very tournament based, right? Because it's all points and it's all timing and it's all advantages and all that kind of stuff. And I think it's really bad to the game of defense, right? So like it's supposed to be a martial art to defend yourself, to be helpful in life, you know what I mean? And watching these guys go in there and just we had a guy come from the gym out of another gym. It was like a 2-stripe blue belt. And I was like, you can't bridge, you can't frame. I'm wrapping your head every single time, but yet you're trying to berimbolo and get underneath of me, like spinning. Like, why? You know what I mean? So like I opened up, I was like, hey man, you cool with like striking, like a little hand smack if you get hit? He's like, yeah, go for it. And like without any question, it was just like, bah, bah, swat. And he was like, what? What's going on? I was like, yeah, man, like I don't know what you're doing, but you've got zero fundamentals. I don't know why that is on you, but hey man, if that's what works for you.
And was he smaller than you?
No, it's about the same size. About the same size guys.
I learned the hard way. Like we don't do berimbolo or anything, but just inverting on a guy that's even just a little bigger than you, like you're in fuck city then. And if you pull that on the street, so it's funny. The show Jacob and I did this past Sunday was about. We just talked about the difference between like sport and self-defense jiu-jitsu. And how like impractical it can be. And that, so I train under like a bread and butter old school Hinzo black belt here in the city, and he does none of that. It's just like nobody competes in his school. It is just like awesome. Bread and butter, and you don't like, you never turn your back. It's like none of that dumb shit. And again, the lessons in terms of business, you know, and I think people were doing the same shit in business. I know here, you know, you hear, you know, business owners all throughout New York City right now just crying, you know. There's just like a ton of crying. And sure, we've been through some shit, but like everybody was a fucking bailout. And I feel like, you know, it's just like if you were overextended, like you don't, that's not the time to cry for a bailout. And it's like you're coming in trying these crazy tactics, you know, that don't apply and work in real life. I feel like the lesson's the same. And fortunately, we didn't do it, and we didn't, we got no loans or anything. We've done everything all on our own. It's just like, don't pull that silly shit. Don't drink the Kool-Aid, man. It's got to be like bread and butter. You have to have foundations, and if you don't, I don't know what to tell you.
So I think one of the things that I like to say all the time between jiu-jitsu and business is you have to learn to get comfortable being uncomfortable.
Number one.
Yeah, that's a big one. And I've told it to guys in jiu-jitsu, and I've told it to guys in business, right? So guys that are brand new to the business, they're like, I can give them the freaking playbook, right? You can show them the playbook. And then as soon as the first little bit of what the fuck hits the fan, they're like ready to bail. And I'm like, dude, why? Like, this is where you got to deal with these pieces to get past it, instead of like just throwing your hands up and giving up, right? So kind of the same thing in jiu-jitsu, where you get your like basic white belt, might have a wrestling background, like really good at that. You keep throwing your head in there, I'm going to guillotine the shit out of you every time, or I'm going to loop choke the shit out of you.
You talking about my brother specifically?
Oh, that guy, he get choked all the time when he, his head here, head, put my head in right there. But so I think it's really cool for the fundamentals to understand that and actually put them in play. Yeah. And then that's where I take it into business too. Yeah. Jiu-jitsu I heard guys say this when I first started, and I was like, all right, that guy's a hippie. He sounds all corny. You know what I mean? And then you get into it, you get through your first year, and you're just getting beat to shit. And then blue belt, I'm only a purple belt, but blue belt, you're like, okay, cool. I figured some stuff out.
I can bolo.
Yeah. I never done none of that. My fat ass is not turned upside down. So I can get into training and having fun with it, and then still information to teach somebody. But then now at this level, I feel like I've got a game. I'm just cleaning it up. I might add like a piece or here or there and make that piece cleaned up. But otherwise, I'm not doing any fancy pants shit. Like, it's the same thing in jiu-jitsu and the same thing in business. When you get fancy, you start getting away from the fundamentals, you get yourself in trouble. Yeah. And I have relayed that to so many times with guys that come to me to ask me about business. They've actually come and trained. Right. I was like, hey man, like if you're interested, we do open mat on Saturday and Sunday. If you want to come by and check it out. And he's like, what? So you can kick my ass? And I'm like, no, I'll put you with like one of our girls and let's see what happens. And they're like, you're a dick. And I'm like, no, I'm just telling you, man, watch to see what happens. And it's so humbling to watch them. Right. And you're like, go with that chick. And she's like a purple belt or like a blue belt. And she's badass. She's all fundamentals.
All on your back. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Like backpack for sure. Yeah. And it's funny because when they're all said and done, we don't talk a lick of business, right? Not at the gym. I tell them ahead of time, like, hey man, I'm not coming here to talk business. I'm coming here to train. This is my place where I do it. I don't talk shop. After shop or after here, we can go out and get lunch and talk business if you want. I just don't do it here. And they're like, yeah, cool. And it's funny because it's a very different dynamic. It's a very different talk. It's all about learning. It's not about this or that. It's just about jiu-jitsu. Mm-hmm. And it's really cool to watch their brain just click off and only think about this. And I'd take that back to a guy that recently has been around for a while. Him and I have known each other for years. He's in the same real estate market. He's in commercial. I'm in residential. And he got into it. He's like talking to me and was like, yeah, I'm interested in getting into it. So he comes in, started training, and he's an old wrestler, right? So he came in, had a blast, and they stuck. And he finally got his blue belt. And then, some more, you saw the light bulb start clicking and start zapping, right? Yeah. And then now he's just in it, man. And it's so cool to watch something realm you're in business, enjoy and get as passionate in the same realm as something else that's just super big in your life that it sounds like such a hippie when I say this. I don't care, but it's like the positive and negative energy that comes out of doing this jiu-jitsu game versus translating it to business is so parallel to each other. I understand.
We're getting a little delay here on the Zoom, and we gotta wrap it up too. So you froze up for the moment. I'm gonna tell everybody where to check you out. Check him out on wholesalingoutofthebox.com. Thank you, Shawn, for coming on. Good, you're not frozen again. you were stuck. Oh, cool. Yeah. All right. Okay. Thanks, man. I really appreciate it. Great show. Keep it up. We'll have to bring you on Instagram Live one time. Have a little fun. Boa.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it.
You got it. All right, everybody. Have a great weekend. We'll check in with you next week. Caralho.